Right, so today is the summer solstice, or midsummer if you prefer, the longest day of the year, and a mecca for all sorts of colourful characters to descend on sites such as Stonehenge to celebrate, druids doing druidy things and the like, if that is what floats your boat. Yesterday, however, Stonehenge got an early visit of an entirely different sort. Just Stop Oil turned up for a paint-themed protest, pelting the ancient monument stones with powdered paint made from cornflour, as part of their ongoing protest against the use of fossil fuels. To highlight the need to move to renewables now, protest is after all meant to draw attention, is meant to be disruptive in order to make its point. Now I prefer to use the stuff to thicken a stew myself, cornflour, but if someone wants to use it in a protest, then that is perfectly fine. It does wash off after all. But to hear Keir Starmer opine on the protest group's actions, you'd think they'd gone to Stonehenge and committed some sort of blood sacrifice. He went full Trump on them, but when he still staunchly refuses to condemn Israel for 9 months of death and destruction in Gaza, with 37,000 innocent lives taken and counting, his comments over some powder paint have painted him as some sort of sociopath. Right, so Stonehenge, we all know it, ancient megalithic monument on the Salisbury Plains, and is today swarming with people celebrating the summer solstice, as it has done for many, many, many years. And somehow it has managed to survive each and every time. It has weathered the presence of druids and hippies alike. It survived war. It survived famine and the presence of accidentally released into the countryside wild boar as well. All sorts of things it has managed to stand the test of time against. It stood for 5,000 years, folks, and still there, still standing. Well, most of it is. But it is thousands of years old. Give the place a break. Now, the protest group Just Stop Oil has become a bit of a favourite target for the media to attack. Their penchant for using bright orange paint to draw attention to humanity-inflicted climate change and the need to stop using fossil fuels is what drives them, and they have certainly been effective at doing that. Spray painting buildings associated with the fossil fuel lobby, roads painted orange. Yesterday they even managed to spray Taylor Swift's private jet with orange paint to make their point. But that wasn't quite as newsworthy as painting Stonehenge, apparently, as this footage shows. Now, you can agree or disagree with Just Stop Oil's actions. I can't say I do support everything they do insofar as the way they choose to protest, but I will defend their right to protest, because that is a human right. And so often, in the past, it is only by protest that change has effectively been delivered in this country and every other country around the planet as well. But in this instance, I have no problem with them. Not one iota of an instance, because for one, they've clearly thought through this action before they did it, and for two, this is hardly the first time Stonehenge has been used to effect protest. Here are a couple of photographs from yesteryear, for example. The campaign for nuclear disarmament marked up the stones in their Ban the Bomb campaign from 1961. Big yellow signage and lettering, as it was, though obviously from those photographs you can't tell. But that will have caused more damage than Just Stop Oil did, because their fire extinguishers that they used there were filled with coloured cornflour. The same stuff we use in the kitchen to thicken sauces, soups and stews. We don't colour it orange first, obviously. But as anyone who has used the stuff knows, it is completely water soluble. It washes off. And a quick rinse, a rain shower, and all that orange paint will be gone. Despite attempts in that footage to stop the protesters from spraying the stones, and I concede the people trying to stop them wouldn't have known the contents of those extinguishers, it was in effect a harmless but nonetheless powerful statement, and it got them the attention they need to make their points, because we're all talking about it. That it will wash away and cause no harm is not getting talked about as much. Cornflour, or cornstarch, depending on where you're from, is just ground up corn. Aside from being flammable, it is totally harmless. Just Stop Oil weren't taking a match to the stuff after all. So for everyone screaming about this as some kind of historical sacrilege. Stop it. The right to protest is our human right. It's enshrined in our human rights and in human rights law. We all have that right. What was done here has done no harm. I know some are pointing out the presence of a rare lichen there. Again, cornflour won't hurt it. No damage has been done. More damage has been done in the past, which is why restrictions are in place now regarding access to the monument. More damage is done through climate change to it, I would argue as well. But if you were really perturbed and suddenly decided that Stonehenge is really, really important to you now it got an orange powder painting, you'll go mad when you discover plans to dual carriageway the nearby A303 involves a road tunnel being built right alongside those stones. Well, did you not know about that one at all? If you're so offended by people protesting, you will be the sort of person who would have been against the suffragettes as well and women getting the vote. How about Black Lives Matter? Did you take a stand against that one as well? Didn't like that one either. How about the mess of, I don't know, let's go to America, Roe versus Wade getting overturned in the US, making abortion illegal in so many states? Do you think that shouldn't be protested at? Because it is being. That we should just accept our lot no matter what governments do to us? Protest is born out of bad, backwards thinking governance, and our planet is on fire as far as climate change goes. We're on course to have an unlivable world and a million species being wiped out by our actions, human-made actions. You're getting angry about cornflour being sprayed over some stones, which on today of all days people gather at to celebrate nature. Give your head a wobble, please, for heaven's sake, if you're one of these. Protests can affect change when governments refuse. And coming on to Keir Starmer in all of this, a man who is campaigning to become Prime Minister with the one-word slogan, change, has, in the most Keir Starmer way possible, shown that he stands for anything but change, and that his views on legitimate process should actually greatly concern us, because he's effectively gone full Donald Trump in his attitude towards Just Stop Oil's Stonehenge protest. He put out a quick tweet, which has had people tearing their hair out in exasperation. Those who have hair, obviously, some of us make videos instead. But he said, the damage done to Stonehenge is outrageous. Just Stop Oil are pathetic. Those responsible must face the full force of the law. Do you know who's really pathetic, Keith? You are. Ignorance like this shows that people like Starmer are the reason instructions are still printed on shampoo bottles. There was no damage caused. It was cornflour. I understand someone as bland and boring as you might find the stuff slightly spicy, but it won't affect the monument nor the flora and fauna surrounding it. It will wash off in the next rain shower. You know what they are. You seem to have come down in the last one. But the Trumpian bit was where he said they should face the full force of the law. For what? It was a harmless political protest, a stunt, as is their human right, and you as a former human rights lawyer should damn well know that. So what plans have you got for our human rights, in which case, if you can't recognise what should be Human Rights Law 101? What plans for a protest crackdown do you have? I decided to check the Labour Party manifesto and search for the word protest. It only appears once in the whole 136-page document, and that was a swipe at Corbyn's time, calling Labour a party of protest. I guarantee he'll criminalise legitimate protest given a chance, or at least he'll try. He clearly thinks the full force of the law needs throwing at Just Stop Oil for cornflour assault. But on what charges? In this instance, I'd really like to know, because there are none. They've done no harm. While he claims the full force of the law should be applied to protesters here in the UK, though, he cannot, of course, bring himself to say the same of genocidal Israel and the 37,000 innocent people, mostly women and children, that have been killed in Gaza as they commit genocide. He doesn't want to jump to reach conclusions there. To my mind, therefore, exemplifying what an authoritarian sociopath would be, and how he seems to come across as one. Perhaps if Just Stop Oil funded his leadership campaign instead of the Israel lobby, he'd be singing from a different hymn sheet. But then, of course, there is always a bit of video footage, isn't there, showing what a two-faced charlatan he is.
Climate change is the issue of our time, and as the Extinction Rebellion protest showed us this week, the next generation are not going to forgive us if we don't take action. There's been lots of talk, now we need action.
Just like all of Keir Starmer's pledges, cornflour washes away. Starmer cites his time as running the Crown Prosecution Service as proof he can be an effective Prime Minister, that those are the skills he can transfer to the job. But his time there was marred with pointless change and authoritarianism, where the autonomy of the CPS was removed, and where in a survey taken halfway through Starmer's tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions, just in case you've forgotten he was that once, they found that the Crown Prosecution Service to be badly managed and failing. The The survey was conducted amongst CPS staff, and it was determined that under Starmer, only 1 in 14 staff felt the reforms he was introducing would improve prosecution rates, and only 1 in 12 felt the changes were being managed well. And when senior CPS staff were told of these results, the staff involved in the survey were ordered to go for retraining. That will be the whole country under Starmer. He's an inept middle manager at best, combined with an inability to accept fault himself, that anything he does himself is wrong, and an unfortunate authoritarian streak along with it that makes him the sort of person who belongs nowhere near the levers of power. If he's coming for our right to protest as part of that, as is implied by his response to Just Stop Oil, then we need to join the protest, not cheer the demise of it. Meanwhile, Starmer's lies appear to be catching up with him after yet another unfortunate interview on LBC with Nick Ferrari. Only this time it was just a question from the general public that caused him to go to pieces. Get the details of the latest Keir Starmer car crash on this video recommendation here, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.